morning, everyone. I'm Carter. This is Melissa. That's Lauren's Justin. And we're here today to talk about Applebee's doing a 2-race sponsorship of Carl Edwards in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. So today we're going to cover both the history of Applebee's and NASCAR, along with identifying the objectives and goals Applebee's is hoping to accomplish through the sponsorship. We'll also mention the sponsorship proposal and the financing that go along with it, and we'll wrap up at the end by telling you the benefits of the proposal to Applebee's. Now Melissa is going to give you a brief history on Applebee's.
Okay guys, good morning, and we're going to start right here. Applebee's is actually one of the youngest franchise and chain restaurants that there are in the United States and internationally. Unlike their counterparts of Chili's and Ruby Tuesdays and TGI Fridays, they were started in the 80s, so that's about 20 or 30 years difference. As one of the youngest franchises, they were started in Atlanta, Georgia by TJ and Bill Palmer. 1983, company gets sold. In 83, the Palmers became the first franchisees of Applebee's, which is a big thing to their company. Their company works, there's different cells. The best way to explain it is there's one on the East Coast, there's a West Coast, there's international franchises. So we're not just looking at the whole company, but we're looking at all the individual markets here as well. And then in 1989, we have our 100th restaurant, and we go into the 1990s. All throughout this decade, it's constant growth. We're just trying to expand our operation and hold on the market as a young franchise. In 1996, 45 states and 5 countries. 5 countries that we expanded to during this decade were Canada, the Netherlands, Germany, and the Caribbean. Again, with the sales that we have reached through opening a number of stores in the 1990s, $2.35 billion has been generated through 1,168 stores. Coming into the turn of the century, we just tried to expand on in the Latin American countries and the Middle East. Carside to Go was introduced in 2004, which you're starting to see a lot of in this industry. People don't necessarily want to spend the time to come in and sit down, so we've come up with Carside to Go. Some of our menu options. Our customers have indicated to us what they would like to see on the menu, and in so we have produced the Weight Watchers menu, the 550-calorie menu, and Skinny Bee margaritas. These are all things that a lot of people are just trying to watch, nutritious foods and see the life of that. I'm going to turn it right back to Carter. He's going to discuss with you NASCAR.
So Carl Edwards races for Roush Fenway Racing right now. It was previously just called Roush Racing. And Roush Racing was founded in 1988 when Jack Roush decided to enter the world of NASCAR. He was already a very successful drag racing and sports car owner, so he wanted to do something more challenging. The racing team recorded their first win in October of 1989 when Mark Martin won at the North Carolina Motor Speedway. And in 2007, Jack Roush partnered with John Henry to form Roush Fenway Racing, and John Henry is the owner of the Fenway Sports Group, which is one of the world's largest sports media and entertainment companies. Just to give you an idea of how large they are, he owns the Boston Red Sox and the Liverpool soccer team. And since the partnership was formed, Roush Fenway Racing has won 5 championships across NASCAR's 3 premier series, which is the Truck Series, the Nationwide Series, and the Sprint Cup Series, and which makes them one of the most successful teams in sport history. So now let's look at the person we're going to sponsor, who's Carl Edwards. He was born on August 15, 1979 in Columbia, Missouri. He began his racing career at the age of 13, and he saw immediate success. Between 1994 and 1996, he had 18 wins in the 4-cylinder series. and his next challenge was the Pro Modified Series. In the Pro Modified Series, he recorded 13 wins, won Rookie of the Year honors, and claimed the Capital Speedway Track Championship. And it was in 2002 that Jack Roush saw Carl Everett's performance and signed him on as a full-time driver. So in Carl's rookie season, he won 3 races, had 13 top 5 finishes, 15 top 10 finishes, and also won Rookie of the Year in the NASCAR series. So in 2004 is when Jack gave him the okay to race the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, which is the most advanced racing division in NASCAR. And he recorded his first win at the Atlanta Motor Speedway in 2005. And his 2008 season was very promising as he finished second in the Sprint Cup points and he had the career high of 9 wins. At the time this proposal was written, Carl was in first place with 1 race to go. Since then, Tony Stewart actually won NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. They actually tied in points, but Tony Stewart had more wins throughout the season, so it gave Tony Stewart the championship.
All right, just for the target market demographics for both Applebee's and NASCAR, it's 40-60, 60-40 distribution for males and females, but everything else, as you can see, is pretty close to numbers. You know, you can see families with kids, some, it's a couple percentage points apart. 30,000 to 100,000 per year is in the middle class, and that fits for both Applebee's and NASCAR. NASCAR is a good fit because over half of NASCAR's 75 million fans say they would support their brand in their car like throughout economic ups and downs, and they believe that their brand in their car goes hand in hand with the best quality there's around. The target market of 56% NASCAR fans make, like I said, 50 to 90,000, which is considered the middle class. And behind the NFL, the NASCAR TV ratings are second highest rating behind the NFL. And like Applebee's, NASCAR also focuses on the family friendliness.
Okay, so basically what our objectives are is to, Applebee's has a challenging marketplace because in this economy, eating out is more considered a luxury than just a common thing to do. So our main objective is to create a sponsorship deal with NASCAR. And some of the goals that we're associating with this are to increase our brand awareness, as well as to expand our operations and increase sales. So basically what our proposal is going to be is a 2-race sponsorship with a NASCAR team. And we've chosen Carl Edwards because we think he's the best driver to sponsor, since he's done so well in the past, and he recently lost his sponsorship, so he needs a new sponsor anyway. We would benefit from this because it would increase our exposure to NASCAR fans, which are in the same demographics as our potential customers, and this would bring in new customers and generate more business. So basically, the main proposal terms are that Applebee's will pay $500,000 per race, which gives us 2 races in both Charlotte and Talladega, which Carter will go into detail on in a minute. And then we'll detail a race car with the Applebee's logo, and Edwards would be required to make 2 to 5 appearances during the race month and participate in commercial filming.
So as Lauren just mentioned, we're going to sponsor Carl at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we chose this track for a number of reasons. First, it's a well-known track with a lot of rich history. There's been a lot of great races that have gone on here. Also, the Charlotte area is called the home of NASCAR, as many of the race teams are located here, as well as many of the drivers live in the Charlotte area on Lake Norman and places surrounding the speedway. So just to look at some of the teams that are located here is Roush Fenway Racing, Penske Racing, Joe Gibbs Racing, Earnhardt Ganassi, and Richard Petty Racing. Another reason why we chose Charlotte was it's home to NASCAR Hall of Fame, so this gives fans another thing to do besides just going to the race in their free time. And another positive is that there's 9 Applebee's surrounding the Charlotte Motor Speedway. So the next track we decided was Talladega, and this one just kind of fell into place because we were set in stone on the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we wanted to do 2 races within the same month. But this was a really good fit for us too. It's a very well-known track, and it's also the largest track in NASCAR. With it being the largest track, this means that the cars and the drivers will reach their maximum speed, and this is what fans want to see. And it's also featured in the relatively new comedy Talladega Nights. So this means that you don't have to be a true NASCAR fan, and you've probably heard of the racetrack of Talladega. And another positive is that there are 7 Applebee's located just nearby this track.
So this is what our car would generally look like. It would have the Applebee's logo across the front and our little slogan, "Eating good in the neighborhood," along the side and the back bumper. And obviously it would also have to have Carl's number of 99. And this car would lead to tons of exposure because while the races are televised, anytime Carl's anywhere near the lead, his car is going to be featured. And this is just basically free advertising because everybody who's watching the NASCAR race is going to see Applebee's logo in the race itself. So our promotional terms and conditions, Applebee's obviously going to pay for all of the following promotions that we're doing. We're going to have 2 different sweepstakes, one for a Ford Fusion and one for a trip to Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're also going to have a fan zone, which we'll call Carl's Neighborhood, at the racetrack on race days. We would produce a TV commercial that we would air on a couple different networks, have a few restaurant promotions, as well as a show car that travels to the different restaurants, and also we'd have a social media contest. So basically what the Ford Fusion sweepstakes would be is, in order to enter to win, you would have to submit your most creative fan pick, which you would take wearing some kind of Applebee's logo at the racetrack during a race. You'd have to submit it with an Applebee's receipt, so this is going to promote people to not only come into the restaurant to submit their entry to win, but also to actually eat at the restaurant. And it would only cost us a max of $35,000 because with all the top features, that's the highest cost for Ford Fusions. And now Carter will talk about the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
So another promotional idea that we had was an all-expense paid trip to the Charlotte Motor Speedway that the race we're going to sponsor. And this trip includes hotel for 2 nights, airfare, a tour of the Roush Fenway building, and you'll get to go in the museum, get to see the manufacturing shop, get to see pit practice, everything that's involved that goes on at Roush Fenway. You also get a tour of NASCAR Hall of Fame. It'll be guided by someone there. You'll also be able to eat in the Charlotte Motor Speedway Club, which Roush Fenway is a member of, so they take a lot of their clients there. You also have a meet and greet with Carl Edwards, where you'll be able to ask any questions or to be able to sign autographs. And how we're going to enter to win this is it'll be 1 week before the race actually begins, and you must spend at least $50 at Applebee's. And when you spend $50, the waitress, when she brings you your check, she'll bring you a form that you fill out with your name, your number, and your email. So now you're entered for a chance to win this all-expense paid trip.
Our next promotional idea is the fan zone. And basically the fan zone would appear at both of the events. We would rent out space in the parking lot for kind of a pre-tailgate fan zone. We would have a wing eating contest where we would have 10 contestants at each race. They have 10 minutes to finish as many wings as they possibly can. And then the prizes would include gift cards to Applebee's. So this would permit them to come into Applebee's and try our food and everything after they've won the wing eating contest. We would also have an arcade rental, like a driving simulation. That's going to run about $25,000, so it's not too expensive in the grand scheme of our budget. And we would have the Edwards 3D cutouts to take pictures with, as well as Edwards himself for 2 hours to sign autographs for all of the fans. Our TV commercial we decided to place on 2 different networks for the course of the month. It would be the Speed Channel because it reaches the NASCAR fans. They're going to watch that channel for other races, as well as the Fox Channel because that's going to reach our Applebee's potential customers because it reaches a broader demographic of just people in the middle class range. During the race month, we would also have our commercial played during the actual races. And this would allow the people who are watching the races from home to also see that Applebee's is a sponsor if they don't catch a glimpse of the car during the race. For our restaurant promotions, during the race day, we're going to sell half-price drinks. It doesn't matter whether it's alcoholic, non-alcoholic, anything that you want from 1 to 9 p.m. So that way people will come in so they can get a half-price drink. And then a month-long promotion, what we're going to do is if Carl places in the top 5 in either of his 2 races and somebody attended that race, as long as they bring in their ticket stub, we'll give them a free order of waffle fries with their meal.
Something else we want to talk about is the show car. It's going to be at the fan zone on both race days, and a staff of 3 will travel with this car, and we will also bring this the show car to Applebee surrounding the races, 2 in each city, so that's 4 total. Carl Edwards will come one day at each location, and he will, by the time when he's there, the first 50 fans, while Carl is there, will get a free T-shirt signed, and the rest will be, you can buy one if you don't get there within the first 50 people. And the only way you can find out how Carl has showed up is by liking our Facebook fan page and signing up for our fan club, where you get email blast of when and where Carl will be and things of that nature.
And our last promotional idea is the social media contest. Basically what this would be is on Facebook, Twitter, any kind of social media. We have a daily trivia question, and it would be either about Carl himself or Applebee's or NASCAR as a league. And basically the first 10 people to answer it correctly would get entered into a drawing to potentially win a $50 gift card for the first place prize, or a T-shirt, a Carl Edwards shirt with the Applebee's logo on the back for 2nd and 3rd place. And everything fits nicely within our budget. Our 2 races are going to make up the bulk of it, which is going to run us about $1 million. The sweepstakes themselves are only going to be about $36,500. The fan zone cost, we added everything up, it's about $58.80. The ad campaign is going to run about $850,000 for the 2 different placements, as well as during the race day. And our restaurant promotions are only about $20,000. Show car is about $24,000 for all the traveling and expenses, and the social media is only about $2,400. So it all is just under our budget of $2 million, and we do have a little wiggle room in case something goes wrong.
Okay, the potential for the ambush market. NASCAR takes their sponsorships extremely seriously, and they will defend the rights of all their contracts. So this limits all of the opportunities for ambush marketing. But for example, we want to show you some little research that we did. That AT&T tried to sponsor a car. It used to be the singular car, and they tried to turn it into the AT&T car, which was during the Sprint Cup. So AT&T was sued, and therefore they weren't able to sponsor that car. Also, some small possibilities is competitors can make similar tailgating areas as Carl's neighborhood. And there's really nothing else you can do about that, except for Applebee's airtime will be so much more than any other competitor unless they want to sponsor another car. A few counteractions we can deal with this is, in the winner's circle, a few of Carl's team members can look out for wearing any other competitors' hats to try to get into pictures, anything of that nature. For our return on investment, for the sweepstakes, this draws the fans into Applebee's and is measured by the increase in sales of that week and the whole month. The fan zone works towards increasing exposure towards Applebee's and measured by the number of people who attend Applebee's. For our TV advertising, this works towards our goal of increased exposure and increased by a number of viewers that watch the race for that day. Restaurant promotions. This works towards both increasing sales and exposure. This is easily measured by the amount of ticket stubs that are sold and collected. If you look at the changes of previous year's sales, that can be easily generated too. For our show car, this works as well with both our sales and exposure. It's measured by our Facebook likes, our email accounts taken in, and the change in sales with this car is in the restaurant compare. You have to compare the sales in the restaurant when the car is there and for when it's not. Lastly, our social media. This works towards increasing exposure by the number of responses to the trivia. And for the benefits to Applebee's, by sponsoring this Carl Edwards, Applebee's will be gaining exposure to that segment of their target market. With having Carl's neighborhood in tailgating races, this allows Applebee's to demonstrate the quality of service and customer relations that Applebee's actually provides. Hopefully, this won't encourage just a one-time visit, but a better brand loyalty and long-term customers. Over our NASCAR and Applebee's have rich histories and family-friendly environments. This works out in both ways. In this sponsorship, Applebee's goals of increasing brand awareness and expanding business can be met. we can comfortably meet our budget, and this is a mutually beneficial sponsorship.
We just want to thank you for your time, and we hope you see why this would be such a beneficial sponsorship to Applebee's. And for our commercial, before we started real quick, we wanted to film in front of Applebee's, and we talked to the general manager. They wouldn't actually let us put any Applebee's logos in there, so we filmed it anyways, and just to make sure to comply, the top of the screen's all blurred out, you still know it's Applebee's.
Great hungry though. Nice food.
Yeah.
Where do you want to get it from?
Well, Applebee's.
We at Applebee's were proud to sponsor the number 99 car driven by Carl Edwards. Come in during the month of May for all of our specials and enter for a chance to win a new Ford Fusion. If you're in a hurry like Carl, you can order Carside to go. If you're eager on that day.
They did show me the real one, so
That was supposed to be
I'm
the first time to get out.
grading off the real one.
Thank you, guys.
Questions for these folks? Questions? Well, of course I have a few. First thing I want to mention, and I'm going to pick on you guys, alright, but I'm going to use you as an example. These guys did a very, very nice leave behind, alright? They even addressed it to the CEO, which they made up was me. But if you're going to do this in the real world, what's one mistake you wouldn't want to make if you're making this to the CEO? What would you definitely make sure you don't want to do that might offend that CEO? Matt?
Spell his name.
Spell his name wrong. Yeah, that's not how I spell my name. Alright? So, just a word to the wise, because this probably will happen to you someday in the real world, if you're looking for an internship, a job, etc. I can guarantee you're not going to get anywhere if you spell the person who you are trying to sell something to, like yourself, you spell that person's name wrong. It's right up there with I once had a student hand in a paper and the student spelled their own name wrong on the end of the paper. So, just had to mention that. Now, what do you think is your most important goal of all the goals that you had a couple of goals I think for me. What do you think is the most important for Applebee's this month?
I think our most important goal is increasing sales because we want to keep expanding, and the best way to do that is through all these promotions that we're running. It's also because the economy is so bad, like sales aren't that great right now, so if we can do better than our competitors with our sales, then that means we're doing okay, at least.
So it's a tough time for the restaurant business,
Yeah.
and I think you've seen companies like Applebee's or TGI Fridays. Applebee's has the 2 for $20 promotion. Are they still doing that?
Yeah, there's a couple of restaurants.
So restaurants have taken some steps to try to get increased sales to drive people into the stores. So of all the promotions that you're doing, which one do you think will be most effective to driving customers to your restaurants and having them spend money?
We think the sweepstakes for the car will be because it's such a huge prize that, and it's not extremely hard for them to enter. All they have to do is take a creative picture of themselves, bring it in, and eat with us once, and then they're entered into the lotto for the car itself, which is a huge prize. So we think that would be a big thing to draw them in.
That also deals with the economy. You know, people can't really afford a car, brand new $35,000 car right now. So that also helps with, it's like the lottery. It's like, there's a chance to win, so they're going to take that chance.
Agreed? One other question, I noticed in one of your slides, you talked about Carl Edwards, and I think in the slide it said he's the current leader of the points chase, and then Carter, you made the update of he ended up tied, but lost due to
Well,
race
actually tied in the exact same points, but when their tie happens, they go back to see who won the most races throughout the year. and Tony Stewart had 5 wins to Carl only having 1 win.
So my question is, why didn't you update your slide? That was like a week and a half ago.
I don't know.
Well, we already gave you, I mean, we should have, obviously, right when we got here.
Good answer. Stop right there.
You know, but yeah, you know, we started 2 minutes within everything being set up. What?
So, I don't know.
Yeah. Just, you know, we should have. Absolutely.
You're just taking the whole thing. All right. Other questions for these folks? Any questions about what they did? If you were with Applebee's, would you sign on tomorrow for this promotion? What do you think, Zach? If you were the CEO.